Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Live. My name is Ashley Hay. I'm a mixed media artist and art business coach. I love inspiring creativity and also empowering art businesses. So today I'm going to bring you a bit of arty inspiration for the weekend. We are talking today about one of my favourite art products that I love to use in my mixed media work, which is, of course, Bister Patina Colours from Powertex Art Supplies. So thank you to Maker, who has inspired this live today by asking about the spotting that she has been getting from her spray bottles on her mixed media triptych. So I thought I'd just give you guys some tips and tricks for working with the Bisters today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information. I'm going to show you a little bit of practical things for using it, but I'm going to give you loads of tips that are just going to be gold when you're working with this wonderful medium. So the first thing you need to know is you need to know that the Bista comes in a range of different colours. So it comes in yellow, mahogany, red, natural brown, green, blue, black, and also the original brown Bista. So it is absolutely brilliant to work with. I love it, and I know that many of you out there love it too. So what Maker is talking about is she is talking about this spotting that you actually can see on the work here. So I'll just hold that up for you so you can see. We might actually go to full screen so that you can see that a little bit in more detail. So see how it's got some spotting on here. So there's a couple of things to do. Someone's saying, hello, my Bista queen. So yes, everyone does know how much I do love Bista, and I love using it. So yes, welcome. So you can see how this is spotted. Now, sometimes I actually don't mind it, but sometimes you don't want this spotting that is actually on here. So I'm going to show you a bit of one that I've actually rubbed away as well. So maybe, David, we could go onto the screen where it's a larger and I can be on the side. So you can see there that this one has been rubbed back. So you can see that it's no longer got this spotting that is actually on here. So one of the wonderful things with the Bista is that it is not actually fixed, and you can rub it back to with a sponge and a dry cloth. So you just want to be really, really careful doing that. But you can see how it will give you a different effect. So I do find that rubbing it back, you will find that the colour becomes less glossy, and it kind of loses its sheen, which is one of the beautiful things with the Bistas. So the Bistas come in different colours, and as well as that, they also come in different forms. So you can actually get the Bista in a liquid form, which is this one, and there are 6 colours plus the original Bista in the liquid form. So this one is the yellow. Now, the nice thing with the liquid Bistas is that they actually are really refined, and they won't clog your spray bottles as much, and so it is actually brilliant. So especially if you are spraying a lot of stencils or something like that and you're getting frustrated by spitting, then this is a really nice product to use because it is more refined, and so you haven't got those pigments in your Bista that do tend to clog your bottle. So that is one tip. You can try this if you're getting frustrated with Bista powders. So the Bista powders I do love. So the Bista powders come in a powdered form. They are more cost effective, which of course means that you can get a really lovely array of colours, and they are just gorgeous to use because you can actually turn them into a spray. You just use 1 teaspoon of Bista to 100 mils of distilled water and make a liquid form and mix it up really well. Pop it into your spray bottles and you can spray it through that. But you can also use it as a powdered form, which I will show you. So it comes in 2 types, just to recap. You've got your liquid and your powdered form, and there are 7 colours. So one of the wonderful things with Bista that it does do, of course, is you can get these incredible crackle effects. So when you spray the Bista onto wet Powertex, you get this beautiful crackle effect, which you can see on the triptych here. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit so that you can see how I use the spray bottles as well, which is, of course, what I'm mainly concerned today with highlighting. Because if you tip your spray bottle over like this so that you're spraying horizontally like that, you will find that the spray bottle doesn't like it as much. So it wants to be held vertical. So that is one of the things when you're working with the spray misters, you don't want to tip it over too far, or you will find that it actually will spit onto your artwork. So if you don't want that and you want a nice fresh mist, then you want to spray it off your artwork, make sure it's spraying nicely, and then spray it as a mist onto your artwork. So I will show you that now, but I've got to say that sometimes I don't mind the texture that you do get from the spotting. So you can see this one is actually resined, and you can see it's got slight spotting on it, but it really just adds to the texture and the effect. If I wanted to lighten it up as well, I can also use Power Wax, which of course I have showed on other demonstrations. I've got a red one here too as well, which I might as well show you while we're here. So the red is just gorgeous. So you can see this crackle effect that is down here, and it's not all crackled. So you've got some quiet areas and you've got some areas where it actually has more texture and it has more crackle. So if you do like the look of these are, of course, just trying to reach over there. These are, of course, parts of the artwork that you actually can do in the Mixed Media Triptych workshop. So at the moment, I have got a sale on my online workshops because I launched Ashley Hay Art Academy a year ago. So I'm doing 40% off at the moment on the online workshop. So if you do love the look of this, then you can grab one of those and actually do the Mixed Media Triptych workshop. Or you can find a trainer near you who's in your local area and do it with them. So it's so much fun going to a workshop with other people. All right, let us do something. So I want to show you, first of all, how versatile the actual Bista powders are. So one of the fantastic things about having the Bista powders is that you can actually put it onto your wet Powertex layer as a pigment form. You don't have to just spray it on. So you can actually put it on as a pigment and it really does beautiful things. So this has the whole rainbow of Bister colours on it. And the reason it is so brightly intense is because I have actually used vinegar to heighten and make the colours more vivid when I've sprayed it. So I'm going to show you that right now. And so we'll do it on a lighter coloured board. Oh, splashing around there. Okay, and I'm going to move these out of the way so that we don't get too much overspray. All right, so I've got my light coloured board. I've got some ivory Powertex that I've already put out in a little container here. And I'm going to just pop a little bit of ivory down. Now, this board already has a little bit of texture on it. So I'm not going to go too crazy because I'll just don't want to take all day and take up all day of your time, but hopefully you've already picked up a few little tips. Now, with the spray bottles are also important in terms of selection. You can get some little spray misters from your craft shops. I don't actually have any in stock because I've tried to find ones that I love and I just haven't found any that I love. So I'm trying different things. So I get some of the sprayers from your cheap shops, and you will find that they don't last as long. But if you can find these mini sprayers from one of your craft shops, they are gold because they create a mini mist, like a beautiful spray mist on your work. So perfume bottles, spray misters, things that are going to give you a really fine mist are really, really, really lovely. So I have also got these ones as well that I use. So you're just going to have to do a little bit of a search around and find what you like, what you love to use. And if anyone does find something that they really like, then let us know. All right, so we've got a little bit of a wet layer happening on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle some of the actual powder onto it. So instead of using it as a spray, I'm going to do something just a little bit different and take some of this Bister powder. Now I've got the blue here because I do love using the blue. You get the most beautiful turquoise. And Natalie says that she's got some sprayers that she likes, so that's good. So she's Bag End Studios in Queensland. And of course, the Brisbane Craft and Quilt Fair is coming up very soon. So if you are in Queensland, you'll need to get along to that because I'm sure you'll find lots of fantastic art supplies there. And Natalie is going to be there with the team doing some wonderful Powertex workshops and other workshops as well. So, oops, didn't mean to splash over there. That's all right. Okay, so I have a bottle here that has a mix of 50-50 vinegar and water in it. And so now you can see that I've actually sprinkled that powder directly onto the surface, and I can actually spray that vinegar mix onto there. So I've put Ivory Powertex down just on some of it and just spraying that mix on there. You can see how it heightens that colour. I might as well splash this through as well, seeing as it's sitting on the corner there. And then I can actually let that drip or run or do its thing. And I really love this as a bit of underpainting for another layer. So those who've worked with me a lot with painting and mixed media, you do know already how much I do love to create layers, and it's all about the layers. So don't try and do something in one layer. If you want a professional finish to your artwork, a really good tip is to to do it in layers and things like this, where you're really experimenting and playing. Look at that beautiful turquoise. It is just so gorgeous, and it is such a beautiful colour. Now you can see also how it has got this spotting of darker colour. So that's from where the pigment was more dense on the wet Powertex, and it just really, really, you can almost see that, you can see the texture of it. So I'm just allowing that to drip a little bit more. And I can take any layers over the top of that I like, because this is water-based. And when this dries, it actually dries with this intensity of colour. So I love to experiment like this and do a whole series where I've got a few happening, and then from there I allow them to dry, and then I work back like a little dance into the other ones. So that is a lot of fun. So that might be something you'd like to try this weekend. If you've got some Bister powders and you haven't tried that yet, then you might love to have a go with spraying some vinegar and water mix. So I've got a 50-50 mix in here of vinegar and water. So it's just the white vinegar that you get. And I've just used the black and gold one. And I'm just moving some of those pigments a little bit further so that I see how I'm getting some variation in that colour, which is really, really lovely. Yes, Natalie is just saying patience for layers. Absolutely. It is definitely worth allowing your artwork to dry and then going on to your next layer. Does it need to be distilled water? We've got that question. So distilled water or rainwater is better. So I generally will use distilled water or rainwater to mix my Bistas up. And also if I'm doing a spray mix with vinegars. So it just hasn't got all those additives of the fluorine and the different things that they put into our water. But because we're mixing it with the vinegar, we're actually essentially putting like an acid into it anyway. So that is the Bister powders. So the Bister powders are fantastic for that. So whilst they do clog your spray bottles and do tend to do that, just keep the nozzles of your spray bottles clean. So give them a regular clean. What I do is I actually take the mister out and I put it in a bowl of water, and then I actually spray the water, the clean water, through the nozzle so that the nozzle gets a really good wash. And if you do that on a regular basis, you should find that you don't have too much problem with clogging. The other thing that is very, very important is the way that you spray. So I'm going to show you that now, and we'll take, I've got a colour here where we've already got something going on the board. Move this out of the way. Hopefully it doesn't get on my painting that's underneath that. So I'm going to take some Crackle onto here. So this just has a bit of mixed texture on it. It's very dark. So actually taking in a lighter layer will look really nice, because at the moment it's just sort of a background textural dark effect. So I can play with some layers on top of this and see what happens. So because we're just, I'm doing a demo, I'm not going to worry too much about what I've already got going on there, because what I want to show you is essentially how to spray the Bistas. But I'm going to go a little bit with what I've got happening and take some light areas in. Now, what will happen is where I put the ivory Powertex, you're going to get cracking. Okay, if it hasn't got any ivory Powertex, it's not going to crack because the Powertex isn't wet. And how it works is essentially the wet layer of Powertex bursts through the layer of Bister Patina when it actually is heated, and you get this amazing crackle like I showed you before. So you can see here, this one is done on ivory, and the thicker the Powertex underneath, the larger the cracks are going to be. If you want just some small cracks, then you would put your ivory Powertex on in a thinner layer. You can use other Powertex colours as well. You will find it works best on lighter colours. So mixing your ivory with blue or green or whatever you want to do, you can sort of marble it in and have a play. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll sort of do a little bit of a thicker layer, and I want to get that to go right off the side there. Red is beautiful with the Bista. So you can see I'm not really doing too much here. I'm just showing you a little bit of some thicker areas and some thinner areas. Okay, so let's just see what happens there. I was talking quite a bit, so that thin bit there has kind of dried, but that's okay. All right, let us take some Bista. Now, I haven't got too many colours because what I wanted to show you was how to use your sprays and just the little tips I've got for that. So key, clean nozzles. Try and find some nice spray misters, but you can use anything that sprays. Obviously, the bigger spray bottles that are more industrial would be good on big canvases, but on smaller surfaces, you want the smaller spray mists. So if I spray like this, oh, look, it's not going to spot. Let's see if this one will. So this is the original Bista. Okay, see how that is kind of spitting. Okay, and sometimes you get a blob. Hang on, it's not wanting to do it. Like that. Okay, it didn't go on the Powertex, but you can see that that actually has quite a blob on there. Okay, so sometimes you might get a blob. Sometimes it might not mist properly. And especially it will tend to blob if you hold your bottle like this. And you can see it doesn't really want to spray if the bottle is held horizontally as well. So you'll have a lot better result getting that spray out of the bottle when you actually hold the bottle vertically. So see how that is spraying a lot nicer than if I actually sprayed it horizontally. So it's actually coming out really nicely. So that's the yellow and the brown. The original brown Bista is my all-time favourite, whether it's because it's the one I had first and I've just played with it lots and lots. But like I say, there's a whole range of colours. So I might just put a little splash of some red in there, or mahogany. Let's use some red. So just get a splash of that happening. And I could take some black for some contrast if I wanted to, but essentially, don't tip them sideways, keep them vertical, clean nozzles, and also your choice of mist sprays will all make a massive difference. So Maker, if you're listening in, they're my top tips for you working with your Bista. Let's see how this comes up. And I could take a little bit of, I've got blue here. So that actually comes out quite kind of green, but I might just knock a couple of those layers back there. Okay, let's see how it goes. So we're going to crack it now using the hairdryer. It's going to be a little bit noisy for a bit, but let's take a look. So I think looking at it, if we can zoom in a little, that will be great. Oh, I've got no plug. Hang on, technical hitch. We just need to plug in the hairdryer. Oops. There's always something. So does anyone have any questions that they're burning to ask about the Bista? If you have, please drop us a comment. It's lovely to see so many of you watching today, so welcome. And Renee, yes, it is a little bit chilly here in Perth today, and she's just saying it's nice to snuggle up and watch the live, so really lovely to have you watching. Of course, Natalie is on. I think my Bista Queen comment was from Robin, so welcome, Robin. And yeah, so if you are watching in replay as well, do pop a comment in the chat and let us know. So Natalie's just saying, I clean like that too and soak in a brush brush cleaner as well. Lovely. So that's a nice tip. So just soak the actual nozzles in either like a detergent or brush cleaner, which is so much stronger as well. So I think that's Robin saying that it looks like there's a face in my artwork. So it's going to be a little bit noisy for a minute. So I'll just stop talking and you can have a look at how this will crack. Okay, so I could keep doing that a little bit more, but let's just take a closer look here at some of what's happening. So you can see how there are some smaller cracks where the Powertex was thinner, and then where it was a little bit thicker, you get the larger cracks. Now, if I kept going, some of this other area here would actually crack as well. So you can see it started to crack in here. These are actually quite interesting because they're really thick, and so usually that Powertex would actually pop through and break through, but it is, Renee's just saying it's like magic when the cracks come through, and it absolutely is. So you just want to be careful about touching it, because you can see I just stuck my finger on that. So you definitely don't want to do that. But you can get such a beautiful variety of textures. And then you can see how if I build up that layer, that, you know, I can just keep building my textures up, my colours up. The only thing is that if you have done a layer of this with any painting, as you create your layers, you want to make sure that you leave the areas that you love. So be careful when you're doing your layers to actually you know, leave those areas that you love and then work on your next areas. So if I overspray this with Bista, I'm going to lose all that crackle. So let's say I wanted to do a bit more crackle in this area up here. I can just put some more Powertex down if I want to, but I just need to cover the section that I've already done, either with some alfoil or Glad wrap, or with my hands once it is actually dry. But I also sometimes just sort of layer my hand on there so that I can sort of just mask it as I work. So if you imagine I'm sort of spraying onto there, just even that is going to stop it overspraying onto that area so much. So it depends how important it is that you don't get the overspray on that area as to how much you mask it. Okay, so top tips. Have I covered them all? So basically, keep your nozzles clean. You've got two types of bisters. So you've got your liquid bisters and you've got your powdered Bistas, and they both are beneficial for different things. So the powder is more cost effective and it is very versatile because you can use it as a spray or a powder like I showed you earlier. And the liquid Bista is great for convenience. It is more expensive, but it is pre-mixed. It is ready to use. You just put it in your sprayer and away you go. Okay, Natalie, thank you. That was one of my other points. So obviously I've already talked to you about the fact that the Bista is able to be washed away. So it will redissolve and reactivate if you get water on it. So it's really, really important that you do seal your Bista once you have finished your artwork. So you can seal it with an art varnish or you can actually seal it with a resin. So your Bistas, a couple of important things to know are they're not fixed. The Powertex will fix them to a certain extent. They are also not UV stabilized, so they will fade over time. However, my experience with the Bistas is I always seal them with an art varnish or with a resin, and I haven't experienced fading, and I've done so many triptychs over so many years. So I've got some, you know, Bista paintings that I've done with Bista that are, you know, over 12 years old. So where those colours are still fine. So it's just you want to be mindful of that. If you've resined it anyway, your resin is usually UV stabilized if it's an art resin, but you still have to avoid putting it in direct sunlight. So just be aware of that and make sure that when you are putting it in your house that you just put it somewhere where it's not right next to a window and it will be fine. They are so much fun to use. So would you see how to use the Bista on the, would love to see you, okay, would love to see how you use the Bista on the clay. So yeah, that would be definitely something for another day, and I'm very, very happy to show you that. But essentially you would just create your clay texture the same way. And if you do want to see that, it is actually on the Triptych workshop, and it is also in the Triptych workshop where you come along to a workshop at a studio. So whether it's with me or with someone else, I'm sure they will show you an element of clay, because of course we use the 3D flex to create beautiful texture, and we use it in 3 ways on the Triptych. So you do a runny mix, a more stringy mix, and then you also do a clay that we also spray with the Bista and then highlight. So, and I love the Bista on the clay because it also cracks the clay, which is incredible. All right, so that is essentially it for today. I think I have covered everything. We have, if you want to learn more about Bista, over the last few months I've been posting some new content on YouTube, and there's a whole series of what is, and there is what is Bista, where you can actually learn more about the Bister Patinas, and it will remind you how to mix them and all that sort of stuff. So today has been really just about giving you a few little tips that I haven't spoken about a lot before, so particularly with regards to the spray bottles and spitting and having more control over how your spraying looks. So the other thing that I should probably mention is when I'm spraying, I don't sort of go and do it in spots. I kind of, as you watched me spray it before, you would have seen that I was sort of drawing with it. So if you imagine when you're spraying that you're actually drawing the colour on, then you'll get a much nicer result as well. Whereas if you just spray it and go chook, 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 and it will be spotted because you've done it in segments instead of being more organic with your spraying and really going in the direction that you want it to follow. So not spraying it, but using it as powder. Oh, okay, on the clay. You could just experiment yourself with actually playing with the powdered Bista on the clay and just see what happens. So do it on a light coloured clay, like an ivory clay, and you'll get that gorgeous turquoise colour. Or the Suma. So yes, the Suma is wonderful to do. I know Natalie quite often will have a Suma class over there at Bag End at Yuringapilly in Queensland, and that Suma class is just fabulous. So I know she's usually got one of those coming up. So if you are in Queensland and you're near Brisbane, then make sure you get along and visit Yuringapilly, and especially get along to the craft show in a few weeks. So Natalie is coming on with us next week. So I'm pretty excited to have her back on Friday live. So it will be awesome to have you on next week, Natalie, and we look forward to seeing you again, and can't wait to see what you do next week. So, of course, if you need more information about Powertex, you can go to the Powertex website. There's loads of information on there. You'll find heaps and heaps of Friday lives that you can review. I've been doing them since February 2020, so there's lots for you to watch and be inspired by. So you'll find those under videos on the Powertex Australia Facebook page or on YouTube under the Friday Live playlist. And there's lots of other tutorials and bits and pieces that are free on the YouTube channel as well. And if you love it, then of course you can grab some of the paid content from Ashley Hay Art Academy, where you can do some projects with me, and it's like me being in the studio with you. So thank you so much for joining me again for Friday Live. I look forward to seeing you again next week. And of course, if you haven't connected with us, make sure that you join the Powertex Australia Creative Hub, where you can create, connect, and share your artwork with everyone. And if you're stuck with anything, you can ask there, and sometimes I'll do a live and help you out. So that's what I've done this week. Thank you very much, Maker, for your question, because if you've got a question, usually there's someone else out there who needs to know the same thing. So thanks for inspiring us. Have a fantastic, inspirational, creative weekend. Pull out your Bistas, have a play, and I can't wait to see what you do as you post it in the Creative Hub. Ciao, everyone.